What if Izuku was AFO's son and fell in love with All Might's successor? World S011 Boku no Hero. Evil and goodness know each other. Theory Part 1. It is said that a person's quirk, it gets stronger and stronger with the passing of the next generations. I am living proof of that, for my father is the world's greatest villain with a very powerful quirk, called AFO. We can see that the people he is talking about were standing on top of a building, while he had his hands folded, meditating and watching the sky. Even someone as strong as him, he wanted to have a son and see if he too would inherit his power. Then, the young man held out his hand pointing to the sky, and so I was born. But a curious thing happened in my body. Not only did I inherit my father's quirk, but I have an even more powerful version. And because of that, I was born with a much better anatomy than an ordinary person, without a quirk of strength. I am stronger than most people. My antibodies are so strong that I doubt I will ever get sick from anything. In short, I'm the perfect human being. And because of that, I haven't seen anyone who is worthy of standing next to me. And that really bothers me. It's true that I'm a villain, but in the future I'd also like to have a family. The young man turned around, and we noticed that there was a person tied with a rope and immobilized, and the one who was tied up without being able to escape was All Might's successor. She was Melissa Shield. She had little tears, for from one moment to the next she was here. She remembered that she was training with her uncle, but in a moment of carelessness they got separated, and because of that, she was in this situation. She did not know who the boy was. Although to her eye he was kind of cute, but from what little she knew he was a very dangerous villain. The boy saw the girl's tear. He approached her with slow steps, and with kindness, he removed the rope that had her imprisoned. She was very afraid, but she did nothing in case she made the villain upset. She could only stammer a single thing: "Why me? I did something bad to you, and that's why you kidnapped me." The boy, apparently 14 years old, was silent. But then he put on a quality of a smile. "I apologize, but you really caught my attention. I saw you training in a big dumpster, and I was wondering, why were you doing it?" "I was training because I need a lot of strength, so I can control my quirk and not hurt myself." "By the way, you said your father has a quirk called AFO. What exactly is that gift?" Izuku had an idea why she was asking, but still gave her answer. "My father has the gift of being able to steal gifts for himself or give it to whomever he wants or keep it for himself." That left a surprised Melissa Shield shocked, for it sounded a bit like her uncle's quirk. Then she asked another question again. "So, what's your quirk?" He put on a serious look. "Usually people who find out about my gift, it doesn't live beyond a week. Although the truth is he never killed anyone. He just wiped their memory." He's silent for a few seconds. "But you're special, so I'll tell you. My quirk, I named him All-4-me. And as his name suggests, all gifts are mine. No gift escapes me. I am everything, and no one can be stronger than me." His dull eyes now had a light that brought out their ruddy color, and in Melissa's opinion, it gave him a sinister touch. "Now Melissa, tell me, why are you training if I can clearly see that you don't have a gift?" Those simple words froze Melissa in place, leaving her speechless. Then, through her mind, flashed several memories, where everyone made fun of her and belittled her for simply not having something that she couldn't control, namely, the lack of a gift. Izuku's eyes from red changed to a shade of blue, and for brief seconds, he was silent. After a while, his eyes turned back to red. "I see, so you are the successor of All Might," were the stern words what the green hair said, and left Melissa frightened. "How do you know that?" "That's a secret, and no one should know," were Melissa's frightened words, as she was panicking that her uncle's secret would be revealed to the world. "Didn't I tell you? All the gifts are mine, so I used a gift to be able to enter your mind and see your memories." Then Melissa remembered something her kidnapper had said at the beginning. "Because motive, you are a villain. If you really want a family, isn't it better to be a hero?" Melissa plucked up the courage to ask that question. and she was afraid the villain would be upset by her question. To Melissa's surprise, he laughed a little, for he found her question amusing. "Tell me, Miss Shield, if you were the son of the greatest villain, do you think society could accept me? Do you think they would leave me alone and have a quiet life?" She pondered for a moment and wanted to debate what the boy had said, but being honest, he may never have a peaceful life. "I'll take your silence as the fact that I'm right, and that's why I need a strong woman who can stand by my side." He looked at the setting sun, as the sun was just a short time away from going down over the horizon. "If I want to have a family and be able to take care of my children, there is only one way, and one way to make that possible." She asked curiously, "How would you make that possible?" He didn't answer for a while, as he was watching the beautiful sunset. "That is simple to answer. In order to have a happy life, I must rule this country." She did not take that answer well. "I won't let you do that. I will be a heroine, and if you do villainous acts, then I will have you." Those were Melissa Shield's firm words. 4. Even if she didn't currently have a gift, she wouldn't let a villain get away with it either. He gave a small smile and began to approach the young blonde-haired girl. She closed her eyes, hoping that, if he did something bad to her, that it would be quick and painless. But to her surprise, he simply stroked her head. "Of all the women I've ever known, without a doubt, you are the bravest." He pulled his hand away from the girl's hair, and with his hand, he delicately grasped her hands. "Will you be my partner?" That simple proposal left a shocked Melissa, for in her life, she never expected a villain to propose to her in this way. Since he received no response, he thought she was rejecting him. "I understand. I know you don't want to have a villain as a partner, but if you accept me, I will give you the power you need to be the strongest heroine." For a moment, she was tempted to accept his offer, but she remembered that she was training and her goal was to be the strongest and number one heroine in the world. She released her grip gently and shook her head. "It's nice that you want to be my boyfriend, but you're a villain, and I'll be a heroine. It's impossible for a relationship like that to have any kind of future." "What if I wasn't a villain anymore? Then would you be my girlfriend? The world still doesn't know of my existence, so I could restart my life with almost no problem." She tilts her head in confusion. "Almost no problem? What do you mean by that?" He simply let out a sigh. "I already told you my father is the biggest villain in the world. Tell me, how do you think he'll feel when he finds out his own son wants to stop being a villain for a girl? So before I stop being a villain, I have to take care of him." The heroic instincts in Melissa kicked in. She rushed over to the young villain and hugged him. "If your father is as strong as you say he is, it must be very dangerous to do that. And I don't want you to do anything idiotic for me either. Come with me and I promise I'll see a way to protect you." He shook his head. "You don't have the strength or the resources to protect me. Besides, what do you think people will say when they find out that the future number one hero is with the son of the number one villain? That's why I need to take care of my father, and then I can restart my life. If you consider me weak, then train me," was Melissa's reply. He pondered for a while the proposal, but finally he agreed, since it was beneficial for him that Melissa was strong. "Then it's okay. I'll train you. And as you should already guess, I already know the secret of All Might, and that's why you have to demand him to tell you the whole story of that gift." Then he extends his hand, and a multicolored sphere appears. "Tell him to tell you the whole truth, and the reason why the gift was passed down from generation to generation. Come to think of it, what's your name? You know mine, but I don't know yours. I think it's kind of unfair." He told her his name, and they spent a couple of hours talking. Then Melissa's cell phone rang, feeling that her uncle was calling. After apologizing for disappearing out of nowhere, she said goodbye to Izuku, and they exchanged phone contact. And so 9 months went by where Melissa trained with her uncle in the afternoon, and in the evenings, she trained with Izuku. Izuku always wanted to offer her a gift to help her advance, but she always refused. So the only thing he could do was to use a gift of healing to cure her wounds and be able to train her without any problem. and so on, until we reached the day when Melissa had finally finished cleaning the beach. And with only a week to go before the entrance exams for the UA, Melissa had already inherited the OFA, and All Might retired to continue doing her work as a hero. After she left, Izuku immediately made his presence known. He had a smirk on his face. I didn't know that the future #1 hero liked to eat air. She pouted prettily. TSH, I didn't want to, but it was the only way to get OFA. I'd better not tell her. There were less gross ways to get OFA. Double quotes were Izuku's thoughts. Well, since you got that gift, we can finally train in earnest. As you may already know, I have all the gifts, that is, I also have the OFA. And let me tell you, it's a pretty powerful gift, so be careful when using it, for if you use it incorrectly, it can hurt you badly. She nodded, as she was aware, since her uncle had warned her that she could get hurt using it. After that, Izuku explained how that gift felt and the way she could use it, but as Melissa's body was not yet ready, he told her to use the gift in small percentages, so she wouldn't hurt herself. That's when Melissa used the gift in a different way from All Might, and called her way of using her gift Full Cowl. It was a safe way to use her gift in low percentages, and not get hurt too much. Izuku congratulated her, for he, from the start, could use 100% power, and because of that, he never thought of that way to use the gift. They trained for that missing week, so that Melissa could use her gift for the entrance to the O tests. Currently, the percentage she could use was 9%. My last job as a villain. Theory Part 2. From Melissa's perspective, Izuku was not really a villain. He helped her quite a bit in her progress. He even went so far to offer her a gift, although she had already noticed something. Sometimes Izuku would come with unkempt hair, and his eyes reflected tiredness. She would from time to time ask if everything was okay, but he would simply give her a smile. But she never answered. On his last day of training, she could see how Izuku was clearly very tired. He couldn't take it anymore and started crying. Something is going on, isn't it? Tell me please. I can help you with anything, but you have to trust me. She reached over and gave him a hug. We are friends, aren't we? He with his hand clutching his temples to think whether to say it or not, but seeing the pleading look, he decides to confess to her and tell her the truth. I told my father that I liked a girl, and that girl was a future heroine. He closed his eyes in exhaustion. He really didn't like that idea one bit, since you told me not to do anything crazy. Then I didn't resort to violence, but as punishment, I am now the punching bag of all the villains under my father's command. More tears were coming from Melissa's eyes, feeling guilty about her new friend's situation. He told me that if I endured 1 year of this torture, then he would let me free to do whatever I wanted to do. Melissa squeezed tighter into the hug. Sniff. Does that mean you're going to keep suffering for 3 more months because of me? Right. He didn't answer. But Melissa knew it was all his fault. By the way, Melissa, from now on, I don't think I'll be able to talk to you again. My father is going to send me on various dangerous missions. Don't worry, I won't hurt anyone. These months I've spent with you, I've had a great time. Even with such a difficult childhood, you were strong and you never used your intelligence to take revenge on those who hurt you. You really are amazing, Melissa Shield. That's why I no longer want to rule the world if you're not by my side. He broke away from the embrace delicately and began to walk away, but after a few steps, he stopped and turned his head. I love you. You didn't see me as a monster, and you tried to help me correct my path in life. That is why I am willing to go to great lengths to be with you. With that said, now he left the place. He couldn't tell Melissa that other than missions, he was going to be tortured more severely, and he didn't want Melissa to see him hurt. Once he left, Melissa's tears came. Baka, I love you too. Baka, if you tell me I love you out of the blue, it will make my heart explode joy. The events of the anime, they were exactly the same without any changes, except instead of Izuku, there was now Melissa with the gift of All Might. She confessed everything to her uncle All Might. She also told him about Izuku's situation. At first he was upset that his niece got together with the son of his greatest enemy, But when he saw his niece's tears and pain, then he understood that he was foolish for judging the child, just because he was the son of a villain. After calming down, he congratulated his niece, for he was able to make the heart of a villain change, and now he wants to remedy his way. So the 3 months passed, without Melissa being able to contact Izuku. Now we can see her in a bus, as she was going to a facility to do some tests. They were going to the SJU. On the other hand, in the place where the League of Villains lived, we could see a dark room inside. There was a young man who was tied in chains, and was very hurt. The only light in that room was a small television. The television had only static, until all of a sudden it charged video. It showed the figure of a man with a mangled face, but you could see he had a big smile on his face. Wow. I didn't think you were going to be able to take all the punishment we've given you. But then he drops his smile, and puts on a grimace and an angry expression. Look at you. How are you feeling, son? Weak, humiliated and beaten. And all for what? For a simple love. You really are a disappointment in my eyes. But rejoice. Today is the last day you will suffer. And you will be free to meet that woman you love so much. But you only have one more mission to go. After that you can get out of my sight. With that said, the TV was out of video again, and there was only static. Even with all his hurt, Izuku had a small smile on his face, for he was hoping to be able to be together with Melissa. After a couple of hours, the current head of the League of Villains, Shigeroki Tamura, walked in. Hey asshole, you know how this works. Listen to me and things will be fine. He simply nodded, for he knew Tamura's childish behavior, so he wasn't going to bother him. Then the events of the anime happened in the UJS. The only difference is that there was one more member, and that was Izuku. When Melissa saw him from afar, her heart stopped, for she thought he had returned to villainy. But thanks to Momo, who created a pair of binoculars for her, she was able to see Izuku's condition. She could see Izuku's condition. He was badly injured, and apparently had several anti-quirk handcuffs. And by the big dark circles under his eyes, she knew he hadn't slept for a long time. Minutes later came the confrontation of Master Eraser against the creature made to kill the symbol of peace. In a short confrontation, he completely destroyed the heroic class teacher. Just like the anime, several students came to the rescue of their teacher. Shigeroki with annoyance looked at Izuku. What are you doing standing still there? Go and knock down all the students you see. Some could hear the order that had been given to him, including Melissa, who could also hear. She with a proud smile for her friend, she observed that he didn't want to listen to her, and refused to obey him. But she was worried when Shigeroki from his pocket pulls out a small box with a button. The moment he pressed it, the 12 anti-quirk handcuffs Izuku had, they gave a shock of 100 volts each, as well as the handcuffs turned red from the heat that radiated, burning Izuku. Screams of the boy were heard all over the place, scaring all the students, and even more so, Melissa. Listen to him, was Melissa's desperate cry to stop him from suffering anymore. He gave a sad smile, but nodded his head slightly. At high speed, he went towards the nearby students, and knocked them out with a light blow to the back of the head. The monster, called Nomu, went again to attack the teacher, who was on the ground. Melissa, being the only one standing, went to intercept it, to prevent it from hurting the teacher any further. Yellow lightning flashed. Smash was the cry of Melissa, who was currently using 45% of her gift. When her fist impacted the creature, a large curtain of dust rose, making it impossible to see. Once the smoke screen cleared, Melissa was shocked. Impossible. That blow was going with a lot of force, and yet it didn't hurt it. Were the thoughts of her surprised Melissa. She couldn't react when the monster went to attack her. It was already too late, and she watched the Nomu's fist near her face. But luckily, Izuku pushed him away, so that he himself could receive the attack. Several of the students who saw that were surprised. Themselves, those who were knocked out, already once conscious, couldn't help but be surprised by such a scene. But it was very different for Melissa. She was not shocked. She was horrified. for Izuku was sent 30 meters into the air and crashed into a building that exploded and fell on top of him. And because of the anti-quirk handcuffs, I knew he didn't have his healing gifts activated. She at that moment imagined the worst, her fury welling up in her. How dare you? I'll kill you. I'll kill you. She was unconsciously using her gift at 75%. Large yellow lightning bolts came into existence, giving her an intimidating appearance. In one leap, he went towards the beast and kicked it, unlike the previous blows. This one sent the giant creature flying. All her classmates were surprised and at the same time confused. Well, apparently Melissa knew that guy. Melissa's anger did not stop there. She took a tremendous leap and then sped down to where the creature went. A rumble was felt throughout the place. The Nomu was embedded in the ground from the impact of Melissa's blow, but she didn't stop. She thrashed as she screamed at the creature. I will kill you. I will make you suffer. You will pay for the death of my Izuku. Each blow he gave with great force, but as he struck it, you could see that it was crying. The creature could not defend itself, and the shock absorption quirk was no longer working, as each hit it received was stronger than the previous one. Nomu, what are you doing? Defend yourself for once, damn it. Shigaraki was scratching his neck in frustration and anger. The doors of the UJS they opened, and in walked the teachers, along with All Might, who no longer had his trademark smile. He was annoyed, and at great speed stopped the villains who were still conscious. Once that was done, he turned his eyes to his niece. He was surprised, for he had never seen her so angry, and watched as she struck a creature, and from the information his students gave, it was a creature made to kill him. Young Shield, stop. If you keep this up, you will kill the creature. She turned her gaze in the direction of her uncle. They killed it, uncle. They killed the person I love. Her gaze is again directed at the monster, and she continued with her blows, no matter how much pain she felt in her body. She just wanted to tear that creature apart. All Might was going to stop her, but an unknown boy appeared. He was limping, but he was approaching Melissa. She could tell he was having trouble walking. Then to his surprise, the boy hugged Melissa from behind. Meli-chan, stop. Don't let your heart be filled with hatred. But Melissa's mind was no longer there, for only fury dominated in her. She continued to hit the Nomu, but a few words made her regain her composure. I love you, Meli-chan, please stop. Don't become a monster like me. I love the heroine who gives everyone a smile to show that everything is going to be okay. That's when Melissa stopped. Tears were coming out of her. She could hear the voice of the one she loves. Izuku. She called out to him softly. She turned around, gave him a big hug, and without waiting any longer, kissed him. Everyone was shocked. All Might had an idea who this boy was. To his relief, physically he didn't look like his greatest enemy. And with today's acting he knew he really wasn't a villain. He who knew. Afo's son, he's got the makings of a great hero, were All Might's thoughts. As the adrenaline left Melissa's body, Izuku grabbed her waist, so she wouldn't fall, as she was very tired. She gave a small smile. I should be the one holding you up, for you are clearly more hurt than I am. He simply gave her a smile, and kissed her forehead. In one swift motion, he changed Melissa's position, and now had her carried bridal style. That caused Melissa to blush heavily. He at a slow pace, approached hero number 1. Please, destroy my anti-quirk handcuffs, so I can heal Melissa. After that, if you want, you can arrest me, but first I need to heal her. All Might had a big smile. You are fine, Shonen, I trust you. Then with his bare hands he smashes all the handcuffs that prevented young Izuku from being able to use his gifts. With that done, Izuku closed his eyes to see which gift was the best to use at the moment. Fine, I'll use the quirk rewind, saying is a horn. It came out on Izuku's forehead. He gently laid Melissa down to the ground, and with the gift he acquired, he began to rewind the damage she had taken and left her unharmed, as if she had never been hurt. He was really tired, for he was not simply tortured. He never had rest, he was never fed. And it was like that for the 3 months he stopped seeing Melissa. All that took its toll on his body, and he was very weak. He felt his body very heavy, and he was about to faint. His gaze shifted to the number one hero. Izuku's eyes changed to a blue color, and he could see the wound that hero number one had that prevented him from being a hero all the time. Come closer, All Might, I don't have much time left. Soon I'll faint and I don't know when I'll wake up. I need someone strong who can take care of everyone, and especially who can take care of Melissa. All Might, somewhat confused, walks up to the young man his niece is in love with. What do you need from me, Shonen Izuku? He could observe how she now no longer had one horn, but had grown another one. Your wound is very serious, so increase the power of my quirk. That said, the young man reached over and touched the stomach where Toshinori was damaged. For a moment, the number one hero wanted to break away, but he started to feel good. It felt amazing. It felt like his wound was healing. After a few seconds, the young man's horns disappeared. Before fainting, he said, "Take care of her. Take care of my Meli-chan, please." After that, he collapsed to the ground unconscious. Shield's bodyguard. Theory Part 3. Since the UJS incident, a lot has happened. One of them was that once Melissa recovered, she had to tell the truth to everyone. At first, several of the students wanted to lock Izuku in prison. Many of them said that they should take the opportunity, as he himself was now unconscious. But to everyone's surprise, the door where Izuku was resting was Melissa standing guard, so that no one would enter and harm the boy she loves. She had activated her gift to 50%. Several yellow lightning bolts were present, and many of the students did not go near that room. Several had to leave that idea behind, for the number one hero himself. He said the boy could redeem himself, and had the heart of a hero. Or rather, his heart had a heroine's heart. Melissa was happy to receive her uncle's support, although she blushed at the fact that now everyone knew that the villain loved her. But that didn't matter to her, for she also loved that villain with a hero's heart. Once Izuku recovered and regained consciousness, she had to attend a press and give a lecture. The director of the O advised him that he had to gain public acceptance. He was currently known only as the son of the most dangerous villain in Japan, and he had to change people's mindset so that he could have a peaceful life. Izuku was on a stage, and several cameras were pointed at him, as he was now live on national television. Reporter 1. Dino, is it true that you are the son of a supervillain? I am. I can't lie to that. For as long as I can remember, I have been raised by several villains. My father had it in mind that I would replace him sooner or later to make the next symbol of evil in this country. Reporter 2. Is it true that you convinced a heroine student to go to the villain's side? Izuku frowned. That's not true. It's quite the opposite. My goal originally was to conquer Japan, so I could have a quiet life. And along the way I was looking for a woman who could stand beside me. Then he put on a smile. But a heroine was able to change my mind. She showed me that there were more ways I could be happy. And even though it cost me, I can finally be by her side. So I ask that you respect my girlfriend. For thanks to her I no longer want to be a villain. Now I want to be a hero, so I can live next to her. Reporter 3. Have you ever killed anyone? Izuku for a moment was silent, but answered, no. My father and everyone wanted me to murder, but I really didn't like the idea. One day I could hear that the kind side of me came from my mother. A small tear comes out of him. I hope someday to find my mother, for I never had the chance to meet her. Then they asked him more questions, and Izuku where he answered with complete honesty. Luckily, most of Japan's population was able to sympathize with him, and most were willing to give him a chance to prove that he could be a great hero. 3-year time jump. After 3 years, Izuku and Melissa were able to become professional heroes. Melissa took the heroine name from the All Might teacher. Her heroine name was Nana, and to her embarrassment, her boyfriend and future fiancé took the hero name. Shield 4 in Izuku's own opinion. He would be her shield and backguard. The two of them were the most famous couple in Japan and the whole world. Thanks to their efforts, they were able to completely dismantle the League of Villains. and finally defeat the biggest villain of all, AFO. One would think that they just killed him, but in Izuku's opinion, that would not be punishment enough for all the evil his father had done, so Izuku himself used his quirk and stole his father's quirk. Now the greatest villain in the world was a person with no gift at all. It was quite ironic, for the one who possessed a myriad of gifts now had none. Thanks to Izuku's intervention, All Might was able to remain the #1 hero, but once they graduated, he bestowed his title on Melissa. Moment of the awarding of the title. It was quite a lively day. We found ourselves in a stadium where there were a lot of people. All Might was giving a speech about his heroic moments and how much he enjoyed being a hero, helping everyone. But in his words, now it was time to pass on his title to the next generation. All Might had a proud smile on his face and shouted out loud, "Welcome the new #1 heroine. Give it up for a heroine Nana." With a slight blush, Melissa made her presence known. She was currently a beautiful woman with a worked out body from so many years of training. Melissa grabbed the microphone. "Hello Japan," she shouted with joy. "Today I want to thank you all, both my friends and family. Many of you already know that I was born without quirk, and my life in the beginning really wasn't very happy. But thanks to the people who cared for me and loved me, I was able to move forward with the purpose of being a hero to help those in my situation. Although even after I got my gift, I really still didn't have an answer to help those who didn't have a quirk, or those who had a villain quirk and suffered from the discrimination that people. It really hurt my chest not to find some way to save those people." Then she puts on a smile that showed love, but luckily he came into my life, and with that, he gave me the solution to society's problems as well. Unlike his father, who was selfish and only stole quirk for his own benefit, he offered to share to the thousands of people who didn't have a gift, and give them a gift. I was proud to have such an amazing and caring boyfriend, and that's why I can't accept this title. That last comment surprised everyone, but then they heard the following: "I know that my baka of a boyfriend will not accept me giving him this title, and that's why I decide to share this title with the person I love most in the world." Then she raises her voice in excitement. "Let's welcome the hero shield." Several of the audience applauded with excitement, though there were others who gave little chuckles, as they were still amused by the man's name that was given and matched the heroine's last name, Nana. Melissa herself still had a slight blush. "You look really beautiful today," was the happy voice heard throughout the stadium. Everyone's eyes turned to the sky, for there stood the hero shield. Melissa did not stand still. She uses her gift of floating to rise to the same height as her partner. They both gave each other a passionate kiss. After that, Izuku grabbed her by the waist, and with his free hand, he grabbed the microphone. "I will gladly share the title of #1 hero with my current girlfriend and future wife." She gave him a warm smile, as their wedding day was not far away. And that was how this beautiful couple spent their days. They always had a smile even in the most difficult moments. They both supported each other, and their love continued to grow with time, and likewise, the number of members of their family also grew. But that story is for another time. End of the story. Thank you very much. We are already over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Remember that my story is to entertain. The characters are not faithful to the mythological tales or anime. We are currently with a new content, which is manga summary. I hope you like it, and we can continue with this content and in the future bring different types of content to bring more variety to the channel.